Oh, hello again. Just a few moments, we're going to start reading chapter 6, which is called Chestnut Street. But before we do that, I hope that you've been doing well. It's getting warmer outside. That's why I'm wearing short sleeves now. Anyway, since the weather is getting warmer, I figured I would show you my latest list of things to do during quarantine. Check it out. Okay, welcome back. Did that video make this read aloud even more exciting than chapter 5? Okay, well, let's get started with chapter 6. Like I said, this one is called Chestnut Street, and the subtitle is 5 Things Easier to Do Than Simeon's and Kenzie's Secret Handshake. Now, Simeon and Kenzie are going to be the two main characters in this story. So pay close attention to how they interact, because this is really a story about friendship and how friends are always there for each other. Number 1, getting through the crowded hallway after the bell rings. Simeon Cross was very big for his age. Big like 2 kids tall and 2 kids wide. A walking anvil with a happy, gapy smile that lit every doorway he darkened. Impossible to miss when he was around, and impossible not to miss when he was absent. So, when the bell rang, Simeon got up from his desk in Mr. Devanzo's class, grabbed his backpack off the floor, and waited by the door while all his classmates filed out, jumping up to give him high fives. Everybody but Ty Carson, who bolted out of class, probably because Mr. Devanzo couldn't stand people asking to go to the bathroom. There's no time for breaks when it comes to understanding the world around you, he would say. After everyone else had gone, Simeon walked over to Mr. Devanzo, and they slapped the back of their hands together, knuckles knocking like tiny pool balls. Their secret handshake, which was nothing, elementary compared to the complex system that he and Kenzie had. Kenzie Thompson was small for his age, tied for the smallest kid in his class with another boy everybody called Bit. Kenzie didn't have a nickname like that, and if anyone ever tried to give him one, he would do nothing. Well, that's not true. He would do something, but that something would be telling Simeon, and then Simeon would do nothing. Because when you're Simeon's size, a look is more than enough. Kenzie's name, though only 5 letters, was longer than he was. But other than his smallness and the fact that he carried a blue bouncy ball everywhere he went, there was really nothing else about him that stood out. He wasn't particularly tough or loud or funny or sad or weird or even smelly, just Kenzie. Maybe he'd speak in class, maybe he wouldn't. Got good grades when he studied, bad grades when he didn't. Wasn't dripping in name brands, but always clean. And was friends with everyone, but really friends with no one but Simeon. And Simeon was friends with everyone, because being his enemy just wasn't smart. Kenzie walked the middle of every line until the bell rang, and then something else. Kenzie never rushed out of Mr. Fantana's class like the rest of the students. Not because he had some kind of special love for science. I mean, it was okay, but because he knew he'd never make it to his locker with the hundreds of other kids traffic jamming and bumper carring around. not paying attention to the fact that their elbows were right by his face. He'd been hit before, several times, had his eyes swollen accidentally by girls who swung their arms around to make sure their friends understood the importance of whatever they were saying. He had his lip busted because some boy was pretending it was 5 seconds left in the fourth quarter. Curry with the ball, he shoots, he scores, and he punches a kid in the face while hitting his crossover. That kid, Kinsey. For him, the hallway was a minefield, and there were hundreds of active minds dressed in t-shirts and jeans. So he waited while Mr. Fantana gathered his lesson plans, put the tops back on his dry erase markers. Waited and waited for... Yo! Simeon came bursting into Mr. Fantana's room. Fantana Banana, what's good? What's hood? What's new? What's true? Simeon gave Mr. Fantana an awkward handshake that looked like Mr. Fantana was trying to figure out how hands work. Took you forever, bro, Kinsey said, getting up from his desk. My bad, man, Simeon said, reaching out for Kinsey's hand. Don't, Mr. Fantana sparked up. Don't do that handshake in here. Not because I don't think anything was wrong with it, but because it's just, I really want to get going, guys, and that handshake I'll do takes way too long. I know you probably won't believe this, but teachers have lives too. Mr. Fantana smirked, then went on shoving papers into his leather bag. Wow! Mr. Fantana, I thought you were all about life science. What we were getting ready to show you was life science in full effect, Simeon explained. I am, and I love y'all, but not today. Then he pointed at the door. Please. Simeon didn't argue. He just turned back to Kinsey. Come on, Kinsey, I don't want to be nowhere we ain't welcomed. Simeon, cut it out, Mr. Fantana started, but Simeon shut him down. No, you said what you said, and the damage is done. Simeon bent his knees, squatting just enough for Kinsey to get a running start, to jump on his back. And off they went, out into the busy hallway of stumbling, awkward bodies pinballing around, bouncing into one another and off of lockers. Simeon, bigger than the rest, was unbounceable. He couldn't be knocked down or pushed out of the way. Ready? Simeon asked Kinsey over his shoulder. Kinsey had his arms wrapped around Simeon's neck, tight enough to hold on, but not tight enough to choke him. Let's do it, Kinsey called back, and off they went. Number 2, getting out of trouble with Miss Walkley for pretending to be in a horse race. But, Miss Walkley, we're not pretending to be in a horse race, Simeon pleaded. Miss Walkley stood at the door to the school, her face a pink raisin, made raisinier whenever she was in a discipline mood, which was all the time. It was pretty much her job to tell everyone what not to do. Stop making fart noises. Stop dancing. Stop dancing like that. Stop rapping. Stop singing. Stop laughing. Stop acting like children. Mr. Cross, Mr. Thompson, was just on your back yelling, yeehaw, while circling his arm in the air as if winding an imaginary lasso, Miss Walkley demonstrated, and it took everything in the boys not to crack up. That's just how he walks, Simeon said. I'm going to say this to you for the 1,000th time, Miss Walkley steamed. All feet should be and stay firmly on the ground. But what about Pia Foster? Her feet be on a skateboard. This from Kinsey. It wasn't snitching because everybody knew Pia skated through school. That one time anyone had ever seen Simeon hurt was when Pia skated over his foot. And I've told her not to do that. But we're not talking about Miss Foster, are we? No, we're talking about you two. Miss Walkley folded her arms. I've given you so many warnings, and you don't seem to take me seriously. So, wait. Before you write us up, I think it's important that we at least let you know why we do it. Miss Walkley sighed. She'd heard their excuse, different versions of it, time and time again. But they were always so entertaining that she was game to hear it once more. You see, here's the thing, Walkley Broccoli. Can I call you that? Simeon asked. No. Okay, got it. Here's the thing. Kinsey here got a big heart, but that big heart happens to be in a small body. Now, I don't know about you, but I would hate for that heart to be broken because that body was knocked around. That would be a tragedy. Travesty, Kinsey corrected him. Travesty, Simeon repeated. And so because I love Kinsey, I protect him. I make sure he can maneuver down these busy hallways without worrying about anything. I'm basically his bodyguard. Tell me something, Mr. Cross. How exactly does Mr. Thompson get from class to class during the day when he's not with you? Simeon knew that this was a setup. I know where you're going with this, and I don't know because I'm not with him, Miss Walkley, but I can only imagine how scary it must be. Simeon put his arm around Kinsey. Kinsey turned his face into a puppy's. Is that true, Mr. Thompson, that the hallways are scary for you? Oh, Miss Walkley, you got no idea. Just the other day, Joey Santiago didn't see me standing behind him and just backed me into my locker. Like, backed him all the way into it, as in his whole body was in... I understand what he's saying, Mr. Cross. He has a mouth. Exactly. He does have a mouth. Simeon was right there with her. He also has arms and legs, feet and hands, and in the same way you don't want him silenced, you also don't want him to be invisible, do you? Yeah, you don't want me to be invisible, do you, Miss Walkley? Miss Walkley's tight face was still tight, but a little less tight than it was when Kinsey and Simeon had gotten pulled over by her. If I could just make one more point, Miss Walkley, she cut Simeon off. You can't. Please just go home and come back tomorrow ready to follow the rules. Miss Walkley marched off, the sound of her chunky heels clacking loudly. She turned and added, when you two grow up, I really hope you become more than the horse and jockey, because people lose a lot of money betting on horse races. Not if they bet on us, Simeon zapped right back at her. Plus, I want to be a lawyer, Kinsey said, trying to control the sting in his throat. Because they're smart and they know stuff like jockeys don't say yee-haw, cowboys do. Number 3, getting to the neighborhood. Outside was what outside always was, a spill out of inside. It was like the main hallway was a river that led into the ocean of backpacks, ball caps, and braids. Energy and engines roaring the roar of school is finally over. Yo, you got old Waka Waka out here with that cowboy line. Plus, I ain't no horse, I'm a friend. Your brother, Simeon said to Kinsey as they walked up the corner. Miss Post, the crossing guard, was standing there with her arms out. Hey, boys, she said. Kinsey leaned in for a hug. Hey, Miss Post. That hug happened every day between Kinsey and the crossing guard, a walking ritual. Staying out of trouble? She asked. Of course, Simeon said. Matter of fact, I'm going home to do my homework because we have homework. Not sure Canton here told you this or not, but there's homework. Canton was Miss Post's son. He was sitting, leaning against the stop sign on the corner waiting for her, like he did every day. Canton just shook his head, paying the big guy no mind, because everyone was used to him being silly. And what about you, little man? Miss Post addressed Kinsey. Staying out the street? Trying, Kinsey followed, holding the blue ball up as if she could look into it and see the day's behavior. What about you? Simeon now asked Miss Post, who had put a hand up to signal for other walkers to hold tight on the corner and wait for her whistle. Best I can, she replied, popping the silver tweeter in her mouth and stepping back off the curb. Catch you tomorrow, Miss Post, Kinsey said, waving as he and Simeon turned right. Most walkers walked to the left, down Portal Avenue towards some of the other neighborhoods, but to the right, up Portal Avenue, is where Chestnut homes were, where Simeon and Kinsey lived. It took no time because there are very few of their classmates going that way. And the ones who actually lived there didn't walk there, so the path was clear, laid out for Simeon the Grand and Kinsey the Great, like a runway to their kingdom, a kingdom where carrying a person on your back was allowed, encouraged even. A kingdom where kings are throned and dethroned daily, where the crown jewels get dropped down sewers and flushed down toilets. A kingdom full of princes like Kinsey and Simeon, princes no one ever bet on anyway. Anyway, like I was saying, we're family. Simeon nailed down what he was going on about before they stopped to talk to Miss Post. Exactly, you my brother, Kinsey confirmed, bouncing the ball as they approached Chestnut Street. The way Kinsey and Simeon thought about it, Chestnut Street is a paradise. Light poles are like palm trees, bus stop benches like hammocks, and corner stores like island bungalows. There's a smell in the air, the mix of exhaust and exhaustion. Also cooked food and cooked hair. There's a feel in the air, a stickiness like walking through an invisible syrup, a thickness to life. There's a sound in the air, a shrill and chill, the scream and whisper of the world making a symphony of so good and so what. Also, the sound of Kinsey and Simeon, their voices still young, still sweet like flutes cutting through. Most people tighten up when they walk down Chestnut. Tuck tails and tuck chains. But for Kenzo and Simeon, this was where they could let loose, where they could run and slap the street signs pretending to dunk, where they could stand on the blue mailboxes like pedestals, or see who could balance the longest on the tip-top of a fire hydrant, where they could open random doors of random shops and speak to the owners. Miss Wilson's beauty supply store. Tell your mama I got new wigs. Or Mr. Chase's hardware store. Your daddy get the sink to stop leaking yet? Or Sue, who owned the Chinese restaurant and was always too busy to speak to them. But nowhere was better than Frito's. Number 4, picking the perfect snack from Frito's corner store. Walking into Frito's was like walking into a dungeon, no matter what time of day it was. The light was always dim, and the shelves were packed so high that you couldn't see over them. Walls of whatnot. No windows, big enough for the world's snacks, but too small for anything else. Always smelled like incense smoke trying to mask up dirty mop water. Kinsey and Simeon came through the door with the kind of confidence of someone who owned the place. Frito! Simeon called out, throwing up a hand, while headed toward the bundt cakes and boxes of mini donuts. Well, if it isn't Wreck-It Ralph and Tiny Tim, Frito shot back. He was flipping through the newspaper, licking his fingers every few seconds to turn the pages. As if anybody could read that fast. You know, I look through this paper every day hoping I don't see y'all's faces. You never will, Kinsey said, unless it's for something good. Something good like what? Frito asked, setting the paper on the counter. Something good like me becoming a big-time lawyer, Kinsey replied. Yeah, or like me becoming a famous actor, Simeon said, so I can act like a big-time lawyer. He picked up a snack cake, turned it over to check the expiration date. No telling how long Frito keeps things. And they bought cakes that tasted like bricks before. Listen, it's more likely a school bus will fall from the sky. Ouch! Simeon gripped his chest dramatically. Don't get me wrong, I hope all that happens so y'all can buy this store and I can retire, kick back and watch Law and Order marathons all day, every day. Well, we'd have to change the name of this place, Simeon said, accidentally bumping bags of chips off the shelves behind him, to something like K&S Food. Or S&K Food, Kinsey suggested. Frito knitted his fingers together, rested his hands on the counter like some kind of judge. Okay, gentlemen, whatever you say. A few moments later, Kinsey and Simeon were at the counter. A bag of chips for Kinsey and a snack cake for Simeon. A moon pie. 50 cents each, boys, Frito said. I got you, Simeon said to Kinsey, sliding Kinsey's chips over to be included with his cake. Okay, so that's going to be $1, big man. And then came the change. Simeon reached into his pocket and pulled out a fistful of dimes and nickels and pennies, slapped them down on the counter and started separating them and counting them out as if he were setting up a checkers board. Kinsey chuckled. He was used to Simeon doing stuff like this and seeing all that change on the counter. He couldn't help but think about how Bit Burns, Kinsey's short twin in school, who had a reputation for patting people's pockets and stealing their change, would never try that on Simeon. Hold on, let me count it out, Simeon said. 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 27, 28. How your brother? Frito asked Simeon. He's all right. Probably somewhere in the street driving that old ice cream truck around, fronting like he's legit. Frito nodded, then nodded at Kinsey. And what about yours? I see you still carrying that old handball of his everywhere you go. You know he ain't no good at that game, right? And before Kinsey could answer, Simeon got frustrated and slapped his hand on the counter. You made me lose count, man, Simeon boomed. God, now I gotta start all over. 5, 10, 15. Okay, Frito said, scooping the right amount off of the counter and into his palm. We'll be here all day. Where you gotta go, Frito? Simeon taunted. To your mother's house. Ask how many times she dropped you when you were a baby. Oh, no need to tell her that. I can tell you. She only dropped me once into a vat of gold. And a vat of gravy, Frito cracked. But Simeon didn't laugh. And because Simeon didn't laugh, Kinsey stepped up. Better chill, Frito, Kinsey warned. Matter of fact. And then, up on his tippy toes, he reached over and grabbed Frito's newspaper off the counter. And when Frito didn't budge, Kinsey snatched his lighter, too. This got Frito's attention. No more cigarettes. They're bad for you anyway. No more of them booty funk incense either, Simeon said, opening the door, his laughter lingering in the store after he and Kinsey left. Such silly things to take. A gossipy newspaper and a lighter? As if Frito ain't own a store. One with a bunch of newspapers and matches and lighters behind the counter. But still, it was about the principle, the loyalty, the brotherhood. Number 5, making wishes. When Kinsey and Simeon made it to their building, the building they'd been living in their entire lives, they set out in front of the steps. The whole walk home they laughed about Frito, making up silly jokes about him. Frito looked like a puppet, like somebody got their hand up his butt controlling him, Kinsey snapped. He looked like the type of dude who should own a store that just sells snacks. Like, you know, what kind of guy you gotta be to just sell snacks? Snacks? From Simeon, who now had the newspaper and rolled it up into a tube. He swung it around like a short sword. What does Frito even mean? I mean, if it's Alfredo, that would explain it. Because he's definitely cheesy. Kinsey piled on, bouncing his ball back and forth under his legs. A slight breeze blew litter around, plastic bags floating like jellyfish, and a deflated birthday balloon. One of the shiny metallic ones, lifted and zipped through the air like happy shrapnel. Exactly, cheesy. But I can't front. He got me with the gravy joke. Simeon followed the balloon with his eyes as if it were a football thrown long, or a messenger pigeon with a note from afar. A smirk crept onto his face. Yeah, he did, Kinsey agreed, and they both cracked up. Kinsey set the ball down, opened his bag of chips, and offered Simeon some. Nah, I'm good, Simeon said as the balloon floated out of view. But give me that lighter. Kinsey handed Simeon Frito's lighter, unsure of what he was going to do with it. He couldn't grow up to be a lawyer if Simeon was getting ready to set something on fire. Jokes were one thing, but burning stuff down was something totally different. Simeon unrolled the newspaper, glanced at the front page, which was a story about a school bus falling from the sky, and ripped it in half. Then ripped the half in half and twisted it into a paper worm. At least that's what it looked like. Then he took the moon pie from its plastic, his huge fingers crushing most of it, trying to slide it out perfectly. Happy birthday to you, Simeon started singing in a fake opera voice. Happy birthday to you. What? Happy birthday, dear Kinsey. Happy birthday to you. Simeon stuck the paper worm into the moon pie, making it a wick. Then he lit the end of it on fire. Happy birthday, my man. I would have sang you the black people version, but I didn't want to turn this into a special moment. I didn't want to turn this special moment into a concert, Simeon said, holding the moon pie out for Kinsey. The growing flame licked the air. It's not my birthday, bro. Quick, blow it out before it turns this moon pie into a s'more. Kinsey gave in and leaned over. And don't forget to make a wish. Kinsey thought for a moment, then huffed the fire out. Bits of scorched paper flying off like black little snowflakes. The smoke corkscrewing up into the air. What you wish for? Simeon asked. I ain't telling you because it won't come true then. True, Simeon said, standing up. Well, since I can't know your wish, I might as well go get at this homework. Mr. Devanzo wants us to write about environmental something. I don't know, but I know I'll get a better view looking out my apartment window. You can see more from up there. Simeon pulled the paper out of his moon pie. He split the snack, stuffed half in his mouth, and gave the other half to Kinsey. Yeah, I'm out too, Kinsey said, back on his feet as well. He shoved the half of the moon pie in his mouth too, slipped the ball in his bag, and had to free his hands for what was coming. The handshake. They grab hands, shake, slide, finger grip, shake, then point to themselves, double fist bump, throw a peace sign beside each of their right ears, point to each other, slap their individual fingertips together, rub the air as if they were holding a ball bigger than the one in Kinsey's bag. Then they thumb their chins and shake their heads at each other before ending it with a big hug. Brothers, Simeon said. Brothers, Kinsey repeated, his voice muffled by the moon pie he was still chewing. They did it just like they'd watched their older brothers do. The same shake, the same secret, the same bond, on the same steps. And as they rode the elevator up to their separate floors, Simeon on 7, Kinsey on 9, Simeon looked at Kinsey, knowing what he wished for, and Kinsey looked at Simeon, knowing Simeon knew that he wished the smoke from the paper candle could drift, could carry a note through the air, across the city and state, over the lands and highways he'd never been to, through barbed wire, stone, and iron, ghosting its way through bars and into the ear of his brother. To tell him how he wished he didn't have to walk home from school, how he wished his brother Mason could pick him up in a car just like the car Simeon's brother Chucky had stolen almost 2 years ago. The one Mason took the hit for, went down for. But not that one, a different one, and took Kinsey for a ride, maybe even showed him how to play. So that's it for chapter 6. Like I said, a really good story about two friends who help each other and count on each other. There's some questions that will be posted on Schoology. Please make sure you answer those. As always, if you have any questions, send me a message. Thanks. Bye.